customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Today's guest on the Customer Service Revolution podcast is the Chief Evangelist of Canva and the creator of Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People podcast. That's right. In this episode, John DiJulius interviews Guy Kawasaki, brand ambassador for Mercedes Benz, executive fellow of the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley, and adjunct professor of the University of New South Wales. Guy was the chief evangelist of Apple and a trustee of the Wikimedia Foundation. He's also the author of 15 different books, and in today's podcast, you'll find out which of those books he recommends and why. You'll also find out about the effect Guy had on John's speaking career. You'll hear firsthand how Guy got started in his remarkable career, and you'll want to stick around to find out what he wants his legacy to be. Now here's your host, John DiJulius.
Hello, revolutionaries. This is John DiJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DiJulius Group, and we are here for another episode of the Customer Service Revolution. And I have a very special guest, someone I'm really, really excited about, Mr. Guy Kawasaki, which you probably already know about him. He has worked with some of the biggest companies in the world, from Apple, Google. He's written 15 books, I think all of them bestsellers. He just has a history of amazing stuff that he's done, and I can't wait to get into it. Welcome, Guy.
Thank you. And to be honest, not all 15 books were bestsellers.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me which ones we don't want to talk about today of the 15.
No, we can talk about any of them. Just they're not all bestsellers. That's
Guy, I got to open up with a personal story that I told you about recently that I find funny. So it was back in 1999, and early in my speaking career, I had won the Entrepreneur of the Year for my first business, and fly out to Palm Springs, California. Ernst & Young puts on this amazing show, and I see, never heard of you, never seen you before, Guy Kawasaki, and I was like, oh my God, like I had never seen. Back then, there was only a limited few speakers you could see live. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have TED Talks. So, I'd see a few a year, probably at the conferences I was at. And, you were awesome. And you gave me permission watching you that you could be hilarious. You could have fun with yourself. You could be but with great content. I was like, oh my God, like this is who I want to be. So I wait in line with the other 300 people. I finally get up to you. I introduce myself. I say, how are you so good? And we talk you're very generous. We had a lot of people behind. We talked for 5 or 7 minutes, and you were very generous. I remember that. I was like, man, that's who I want to be. So get your book, Rules to Revolutionary. Read that and have just been a fan ever since. Now, fast forward to, I think it's about 2015. I am the closing keynote speaker at Social Media World in San Diego. And I get up there and I look, and the first row, literally no less than 10 feet away from me, is Guy Kawasaki sitting there watching me speak. I'm like, no way. Like, this is so cool. My idol. And I know what's going to happen, right? I'm going to crush it. You're going to wait in line and come up to me and say, probably don't know who I am. I'm Guy, but I just want to know, how did you get so good? And I'm like, I know that's what's going to happen. And I get, 10 or 15 seconds into my opening, and you get up and leave.
I swear, I did not do that on purpose. Maybe I had to use the bathroom. Maybe I had to catch a flight. I don't know.
That's what I'll tell myself. It makes me feel a heck of a lot better. But so you were part of the highest moment of my speaking career and the lowest moments.
But I mean, look at the bright side, okay? So if I had stayed for 10 or 15 minutes,
And
half
then
an hour, and then left, you would have concluded that Guy thought you sucked.
Right.
But I left before you could possibly
Suck.
conclude that. Yeah. So
I didn't have enough time to suck.
Exactly. So, yeah. The next time I see you speak, I'll stay for the whole thing. I'll stand in line. I'll ask you for your autograph, take a selfie with you, the whole shooting match.
Right. So, no, you've been a great inspiration. I love your style. You come at it, with great content and you have fun. One of the things, the way I describe you, Guy, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but I actually want to know where you got this from. Your upbringing, your parents, Hawaii. When I think of Guy, I think of you and Magic Johnson with two of the people that have $1 million smile. Like from ear to ear, you always have, when you speak, when, everything. Where did that come from? Is that something that just was natural? That's a gift. You radiate energy.
Well, it's not CBD. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's in my DNA. I've been very fortunate in my life. I mean, not, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk kind of wealthy fortunate, but, I'm not just rubbing two nickels together. But I've had a good life.
You smiled and you projected that energy before you hit it, big.
Yeah, well, not clear that I have hit it big yet, but anyway. So yeah,
you're on my podcast, so.
Well, yeah, that's true, and I attended one of your speeches.
Right.
That's like when you look at somebody's resume and it says attended Stanford University, that doesn't mean you graduated, right? That means you went to the bookstore one day or something. So,
well, you attended law school, right?
That's true, for 2 weeks. And I attended law school and I attended one of your speeches. And I can tell you, your speech is better than law school.
So no, there's nothing you could say. My parents drilled it in me. It was just something I found. It is a great quality that I've tried to become more cognizant of because I just think it's very warm and engaging.
Have you asked Magic Johnson why he's always smiling?
No. But it's something that's really cool. All right. So, Guy, you are, you had an incredible, currently still having an incredible career. I mean, you were didn't invent, but you were the Apple Evangelist. That was your title back in the early to mid 80s, correct? Tell us about what that was like.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was Jesus before me, but basically evangelism comes from a Greek word about bringing the good news. So what an evangelist does is bring the good news. I brought the good news of Macintosh, that it makes people more creative and productive. And now I'm Chief Evangelist of Canva, online graphics design service out of Sydney, Australia. And I'm bringing the good news of Canva, that it can make you into a person who can create great graphics and become a better communicator. So what an evangelist does is you convince people about the quality and the usefulness of a product or service for their best interest, not just your best interests.
And was that something you learned? Did Apple teach it to you, or that's what you brought to Apple?
Well, believe it or not, I was hired into a position called software evangelist, and this was long before evangelist was ever used in a secular sense. I mean, prior to 1983, it was all, religious. And then in 1983, we had this software evangelist position at Apple. And in a sense, it's just the purest form of sales, because sales usually is about making your own quota, your own commission, your own bonus. Evangelism is the purer form of that because it has a second goal, and the second goal is that you improve the other person's life. So when I tell you to use Canva or I tell you to buy a Macintosh, I truly do believe that I am helping you improve your life. It's not just making a buck for me.
No, I love that because I don't know. I've always had a creepy stereotype of sales
Yeah.
I say I'm not a salesperson, but you're right. When you have a vision, a passion, a mission, a cause, it's not selling. It's just trying to get people behind or rally around something. And
Yes.
I don't think anyone taught us that better than Apple and Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some. I would say that Harley Davidson had evangelists. You know, they weren't called evangelists, obviously, but they had evangelists. Nordstrom in its heyday had evangelists.
Lululemon
Even Tesla
has it today. Yeah.
Tesla?
Oh my God, Tesla. Absolutely.
Right?
I've made the mistake of asking Tesla drivers about their car because I'm thinking about I can't get away from them. An hour later, I'm like, I believe you. I swear I'll buy it. I'll send you the receipt. But no, they're evangelists. They're walking evangelists.
And it's not because they're shareholders or employees. They truly believe.
What'd you do? I know you went to Stanford and then you got your MBA at UCLA. What'd you do? Did you go right into Apple after that?
No, believe it or not, during my MBA program, I worked for a jewelry manufacturer in downtown LA. So after I graduated from my MBA, I went to work for that jewelry manufacturer full time. Now, there's a hidden gem in this story. So the jewelry business, we manufactured. Yeah, exactly. We manufactured jewelry for retailers to sell. So we had to call on the retailer who sold the diamond or the bracelet or the ring or whatever necklace to you. And so it was a lot of hand-to-hand selling. And it's about trust and it's about relationships. And so that hand-to-hand selling was extremely good training for the rest of my career. And it kind of was the foundation of my evangelism.
That's great. So then you go to Apple, and where do you go from there?
I left Apple, started a software company, did that for a few years, returned to Apple as an Apple Fellow and Chief Evangelist. This is in 95 when Apple was supposed to die. I did that for a couple more years.
Was Steve back yet?
No. Steve came back in about 97 or 98. Okay. We overlapped when Apple bought Next, he became sort of an unofficial advisor. But when he was on the way in, I was on the way out the second time. So we didn't overlap too much there.
And then from there?
From there, started software company, started a venture capital firm. And then about 6 years ago, I started working for Canva as Canva's chief evangelist. And Canva is just rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
We make about 4 million graphics per day for people. So we have about 30 million monthly active users. And Canva's doing quite well.
I love Canva. I mean, it is a great marketing piece and it makes you look a hell of a lot better than you are. It's a great product. It is. It really is. And so what was the first book you wrote?
The first book I wrote was called The Macintosh Way.
Oh, that's right.
It was written in 1987. And it was about, doing the right things the right way.
And then, so you've written 15, and, I've read a lot of them. And, I loved Rules for Revolutionary, which fits well with the customer service revolution. Yep. And do you have a favorite?
It's like asking, which of your kids are your favorite.
Kids, yeah.
Well, it depends on what you want out of it, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, the one to read is The Art of the Start. And if you're interested in sort of stories a la Chicken Soup for the Soul, then read Wise Guy. Wise Guy is a compilation of the stories of my life a la, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I wanted to call it Miso Soup for the Soul, but my publisher wouldn't go for that. And so those two, because The Art of the...
I haven't read Wise Guy yet, but I heard it could be called the Memoir.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I don't position it in my mind or really externally as a memoir or autobiography, because I think the people who have memoirs and autobiographies, that's like Nelson Mandela or Barack Obama or, Richard Branson or Desmond Tutu or, Mother Teresa. It's not Guy Kawasaki. I don't have that much they're not going to make a movie about my life.
Come on, you and Mother Teresa, you're right there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, but in the world we're going through right now, is one of your books more prevalent with, trying to pivot and, persevere?
would probably still be The Art of the Start, because The Art of the Start is written from a startup's perspective, right? And in a sense, we're all startups in this pandemic. I mean, you look at Neiman Marcus going bankrupt, and you think about these airlines, and United's talking about laying off 36,000 employees. Up is down and down is up. I mean, so many things have to change in this pandemic that it's really a startup mentality.
What's the number one advice you give business owners? Now, I've listened to your podcast, Remarkable People podcast, and I love them all. But one of them 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, was really, to me, the kick in the ass about my take. No time to feel sorry for yourself. You got to focus, and it's happening to all of us. It's not just me and my business that's victimized here. We're all on the same playing field still.
Yep. So I think I have some thoughts here, and it is all about perseverance. The first step is to understand the kind of race we're in, and it is not a 100-meter or 100-yard dash. This is a marathon. And this pandemic is not going to be over in January. There's not going to be some magic vaccine and all of a sudden we're all getting on planes flying to Las Vegas for 10,000 people conferences anymore. So it is a marathon. Maybe even a better metaphor is that it's a decathlon, because you have to be good at a lot of events, not simply running. So that's number one. Number two, I think that cash is king. The goal is survival. And in great times, in a great economy, you're worrying about positioning and branding and thought leadership and all those kind of esoteric things. Well, the goal now is survival. So as an example, maybe you have this very prestigious line of products and you're known for never discounting it because that would affect, the branding and the positioning. Well, guess what, pal? I mean, if Neiman Marcus is going broke, guess what? I mean, the rules have changed. And so you go to Amazon and you can get recently announced Apple equipment at a discount. Levi Strauss sends me an email that says site-wide, 50% off. Dyson, the vacuum cleaner guy, you can get brand new Dysons at a discount. So if everybody's discounting, it's all about turning inventory into cash. So now is not the time to be proud, because, if you're worried about your positioning and branding, guess what? Death is very bad for your positioning and branding. So no one's going to remember, this high-end product, this high-end company discounted during the pandemic. You're either dead or alive at the end of this thing. So that's the second thing. A third thing is, I think that you cannot depend on multiple tier distribution. That used to be that you work with your resellers and your distributors and you sell through Amazon and, point of purchase, concrete, brick and mortar stores. Well, guess what? I mean, if Amazon doesn't feel that your product is essential, if your stores are not doing well because guess what? Foot traffic is way down and they control the amount of people who can walk into a store. So no one's making these sort of whim purchases. So maybe now you have to figure out that you have to look out for number one. So you need to sell your stuff directly to customers as opposed to depending on multiple tier distribution. Another thing is that I think that the number of choices you need to offer is not nearly as high now as it was before the pandemic. And I'll give you a very silly example. So I try to resist going into a grocery store as much as possible. I think in the last 4 months, I've been in a grocery store twice, right? So I use Instacart all the time. And prior to the pandemic, you go to Safeway, and there's like a row of peanut butter. There's Skippy, there's Jif, there's non-GMO, there's organic, there's, CBD peanut butter, there's chunky, there's smooth, there's extra smooth, there's velvet smooth, there's super chunky, there's brick-like, whatever, right? And now I tell you something, I'm at Instacart and I say I want 16 ounces of Skippy Chunky, and up shows 8 ounces of Skippy Creamy. And I say, hallelujah, man, I'll take any kind of peanut butter you got right now. And I think that's a very important lesson. So you can thin out your product line. And one of the consequences of that is, well, before you tried to get the cheapest thing, it's probably made in China. And you have to have every color, every size, everything. Well, guess what? I mean, now you can get away with having much fewer SKUs. And that simplifies your entire supply chain. You're less dependent on, something happening right in China. I mean, there's a lot of ramifications of this pandemic.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love all. I mean, that was very great tactical. What we did with all my businesses is we, basically split it into 3 columns, what we have to do. The first column is what we just always have to do regardless. That keeps us in our world, blogging, vlogging, podcasting, we can't ever get away from that. But then really the 2 columns we focused on was, what do we have to do now to sell now, right?
Yes.
And like you said, look at our inventory. I got 3 boys, right? You need them, they're available, right? I will sell anything I have right now. And then the other column was do now, sell for the future, which was really exciting to finally have, that opportunity of stuff we should have done years ago, but we were just too busy to focus on, to make that pivot. But to be honest, we were probably spending too much time on the do now, sell later column and not enough on what you just explained of hey, wait, we don't have a lot of revenue coming in, because we're only focused on the creative stuff. So, I think that's a good exercise.
Well, I was at Apple when it had its closest to death experience, okay? And I will tell you something, a near-death experience.
Which time, the 95?
Yeah, a near-death experience, if it does not kill you, usually makes you stronger.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying go and seek a near-death experience for your business, but you would be surprised that you look back and you say, wow, things came a lot clearer when I was worried about only the essentials.
We get fat, right? I mean, when things are good, we get fat, we get content. I've always said I like a recession, and none of my businesses do better in a recession, but our competitors do so much worse. Right.
Yes.
And that's why I think a recession's like a business enema, and it just does a good cleansing.
That's a poster quote.
There you go. Yeah, Canva. Got to make it on Canva.
Just search for barium, and we'll find you a picture of a barium bottle.
Join John and the rest of the DiJulius group this fall as we present the Customer Service Revolution Virtual Conference. We know you want to learn, and we know attending a large conference this year is out of the question. That's why we're bringing it to you. Guy Kawasaki will be part of an amazing lineup that spans every Thursday in the month of October. Wow, you won't believe who you're going to hear over 5 sessions, all for one easy rate. Enjoy special package pricing, and the whole team can participate virtually. The earlier you buy, the more you save. Go to customerservicerevolution.com for your tickets today.
All right, so I'm really excited to announce that, our Customer Service Revolution conference that we have every October this year is virtual. And Guy, you are one of our headliners, and it is a bucket list item that I get to cross off, and you could probably drop the restraining order from me harassing you every year to come out to Cleveland. Now you don't have to come to Cleveland and still be part of it. We're bringing Cleveland to you. I
hope you don't shut me down after 15 seconds.
There you go. and so what can our attendees look forward to hearing at your presentation?
Well, right now it's only July, so you can change my mind. But I think one of the things that I can truly offer is insight into the lessons of Steve Jobs. And there aren't many people who can really, who are inside the reality distortion field. And I know you have like the world's greatest experts on customer service. So, I'm not going to tell you about customer service, but I can tell you about Steve Jobs and Silicon Valley and innovation and evangelism. So that's what I'd like to discuss.
And I love the reality distortion field. I just think that is so cool. I do. I mean, it's just, if more people would adopt that, I don't know what it was like to be on the other side of it.
Don't ask.
Right. I can't imagine, but I've always loved that. So no, I can't wait what you're going to bring. Tell our listeners about the Remarkable People podcast. I love. It's a must every week. I am listening to on one of my workouts, typically I think on Wednesday or Thursday. I love it. Tell our listeners about it.
So my Remarkable People podcast is a collection of interviews with remarkable people, right? So, it's kind of like, what does Aldous PageMaker do? Oh, it makes pages. What does 3-Day Blinds do? Oh, it makes you blinds in 3 days. So what's in Remarkable People? Well, remarkable people. So I interview remarkable people, and it's about them. It's not about me. So it's like 95% them speaking, 5% me speaking. And it's people like Jane Goodall, Margaret Atwood, Andrew Yang, Roy Yamaguchi, the restaurateur, Christy Yamaguchi, no relationship, the figure skater, and world-class surfer, Steven Pinker, who is this great psychology professor out of Harvard, Bob Cialdini, who I'm sure your listeners will love. They probably already know about him. Bob Cialdini is the godfather of influence. And let's see, David Ocker. David Ocker is the godfather of branding. And so I have Steve Wozniak, for example. So I have really remarkable people talking about their lives, their lessons, how they got remarkable. And I promise you, if you listen to an episode of Remarkable People, you will be a little more remarkable after listening to it.
You get hooked. And what I honestly like about, not everyone's I was familiar with. But when you realize, you start getting a trust factor that if you have them on, there's a good reason why.
Oh, yeah.
And it is nice not, because all the other podcasts, it isn't taking nothing away from Elon Musk and the same, group. And they're great. But it is nice to be exposed to people that aren't necessarily household names to me, but they've done remarkable things and continue to do so.
Recently I had the woman who started Gigi's Playhouse. And so Gigi is the name of her daughter, and she has Down syndrome. And so she created an organization to help kids with Down syndrome and their families, coping with this. And she's a remarkable person. And unless you have or know someone who has Down syndrome, you probably would have never heard of her name, Nancy Gianni. But that's the kind of person I have. So this is called Remarkable People, not necessarily rich people or famous people. I have famous people on it. I even have some rich people on it. But that's not why. I mean, if some investment banker billionaire called me up and said, can I be on Remarkable People? The answer is probably no, because, you may be rich, but how have you dented the universe? So,
It could be remarkable human beings, right? From that standpoint, right?
Yes.
No, I love it. Let me ask you, you've done a lot, and I know you still have a lot more to do, but what do you want Guy Kawasaki's legacy to be?
Oh, this is an easy thing to answer because I've been asked this and I've been thinking about this. I'm 66 years old, so, the clock is ticking. And I just want to be remembered as someone who empowered people. So I empowered people with my investments, my advice, my books, my speaking, my podcast. I want to empower people to, in the words of Steve Jobs, dent the universe.
That's awesome. Well, you've empowered me. I got to ask you a couple more tough, rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
Maybe the toughest questions ever been asked. You can't even think about it. In Guy Kawasaki's expert opinion, who's better, Superman or Batman?
Superman or Batman?
Yeah.
Batman, because Batman has a cooler car.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you believe in the DH or let the pitcher bat? Told you, these are tough.
I think you let the pitcher bat, but I have to tell you, I don't know jack about baseball because I may cross hallowed ground here.
Yeah.
But baseball, it's too slow a sport, man. I'm into hockey and surfing. I want action.
Yeah. I played baseball in college, so you just...
Were you a pitcher?
No, God, no. I was a shortstop. You don't remember seeing me speak. I'm only 5'6". That's an exaggeration. It says 5'6" in my bio, but All right, you're whatever's happy tomorrow. Tonight is your last meal. What would it be?
Sushi.
All
Yeah.
right, good.
Sushi or barbecue.
And now, do you have that regularly?
Sushi or barbecue? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Last meal?
Well, I have not had sushi for quite a while because, restaurants haven't been open.
Oh, that's true.
And takeout sushi.
Yeah.
Takeout sushi is kind of an oxymoron, whereas takeout ribs is no problem.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I always say, I know what I'd have. I'd have a big bowl of Cocoa Krispies and double stuffed Oreos for dessert. Only because I haven't had those in like 20 years. So, I figure I don't got to worry about, how I look tomorrow.
Well, another thing, maybe my last meal is, which you'll just discuss about 10% of your listeners, is spam. I love spam.
Really?
Yeah, a little scary, huh?
I've never had it, so I wouldn't know.
Well,
long or short shower?
It's an acquired taste. I'm sorry?
Long or short shower?
Long.
Long,
and 3 times a day. I mean, because I surf twice a day, so that's 2 showers. And then in the evening, before I go to bed, I take a shower because I just want to wash off all the virus.
Is it just during this time, or is that always?
Well, yeah. If we're not in the middle of a pandemic, it would be 2 showers. It would be at least 1 shower after every time I surf.
Yeah. You don't like the salt water feel. Snooze or jump right out of bed?
Okay, I don't jump right out of bed. What I do, which is something that no one should do, it's absolutely contrary to all good sleep advice, is I sleep with my iPhone right next to me, and like I'm in a daze and I'm checking social media and I'm checking email, is there anything really important? So that's not exactly snoozing, but it's not exactly jumping out of bed.
But that's how you come to gradually getting up.
Yes.
All right. And best thing you have ever binge watched?
Ozark.
Yes.
I love Ozark. And
I agree.
And whatever that cartel guy, when he just blew away the lawyer, oh my God.
Yeah.
Totally unexpected, huh?
I wasn't seeing that coming because you thought it was, supposed to be them.
Who's your favorite character in Ozark?
I like the girl that's, the
blonde girl that runs the strip club?
Yes.
Yeah. I love her too.
I forget her name. She's a tough cookie.
Yeah. I like her. And I also like that scary old lady. The one that's shacking up with the young guy? That's a scary.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You just ruined the ending for anybody that wants to watch it, talking about the lawyer gets killed. But other than that, they can.
If you're not up to speed with Ozark, it's not our fault.
Best book you've ever read that is not one of your own?
Oh, of course. If You Want to Write by Brenda Ueland. And it's for writers and it's about creativity. But really, you can substitute anything creative for the word write. So if you want to program, if you want to make movies, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a cook, it's about not listening to self-doubt and not listening to external opinions of you.
I love it. I want to get your opinion on this because people ask me, how do they become better speakers or, get in the speaking business? And one of the things I tell them, I want to see what you think. Yeah. Nothing has made me a better speaker than writing. And I know that kind of sounds weird.
Oh, really?
They haven't done it. What do you think?
That's a new one for me. My advice, if you want to be a better speaker, is speak. I mean, you have to do it a lot. It's just, I don't know about the Malcolm Gladwell theory of you got to do something 10,000 hours to, reach it. But I probably have spoken 10,000 hours. But I think it's just a quantity game. And of course, there are some people who are just naturals, like Steve Jobs. But let me tell you something. There's only been one Steve Jobs. So, that's not a strategy. Is it going to be like Steve Jobs? I think it's just paying the price. And, going back to Magic Johnson, I bet he took hundreds of thousands of free throws. Right? I mean, he didn't just go up to the line and start shooting in the middle of the NBA playoffs.
Right. No, I should say it's the second. I say you got to do it. Whoever will listen to you. But writing, while it wasn't my favorite thing to do, or it sometimes still isn't, it made me be more concise. It made me realize, what I was saying in 4 sentences, I could say better in 1. So it really helped me, become, really good at this. All right. How can people get a hold of you? Oh, so go ahead. Finish.
Oh, no. I was also going to say a tip for speakers is I think many people have the mistaken idea that the point of giving a speech is to educate people. And I would make the case that the goal of a speech is to entertain people. And if you entertain people, they will remember what you said and be educated. But if you go up there with your 60 slides and 8-point font and your graphs and your, whatever, and you try to bludgeon education into their heads, you will fail as a speaker and an educator.
But that was the thing. Back in 1999, Guy, the 3 types of speakers I saw before you were people that just, sucked. Educators, right? Yeah. Who maybe had good content, but you'd be looking at your watch saying, oh my God, 20 more minutes of this. And they didn't get from behind a podium or whatever, which I thought, when I first started speaking, I thought that's how I had to speak because I'd never seen. And then, or entertainers who were funny, motivate, but I really didn't have anything written down. But you were one of the first that did both, educate and entertain, where I was laughing, but you weren't being funny just to be funny. Your ahas, one of my favorite quotes of the humor was, it makes you laugh for 10 seconds and think for 30. And you just weren't saying, hey, a rabbi and a priest walk into a bar. But I bet you have some good jokes.
I'm gonna give you the best speaking tip ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So lots of people like to start off with a joke, which is a high risk strategy.
Yeah.
Because if the joke bombs, then mentally you're just behind the 8 ball right away. But I will tell you a joke that works every time. Every time. So now the scenario is you're a speaker and you just got invited to speak at something that's, important. I mean, it's not just some, well, it depends how you define important, but, it could be as, and I'm not saying it has to be in front of, TED, the TED Talk. I'm saying speaking in front of your PTA, speaking in front of your employees, that's important too. So anyway, so what you do is you go up there and you say, you know what? Last night I was talking to my wife and I said to her, can you believe that I am going to be the keynote speaker for, the Customer Service Revolution Conference or IBM or Microsoft or, TED or, whatever you're going to speak for. You say, can you believe that? And then you say, in your wildest dreams, honey, did you ever think I was going to be a keynote speaker for XYZ? And then what my wife said is, honey, I don't want to hate to tell you, but you're not in my wildest dreams. It works every time. I guarantee you.
I think I've heard you use that.
It works every time. I promise you.
And can we ask Beth if that's true?
Yeah.
And you have 4 beautiful kids, correct?
I do indeed. The lights of my life. Yep.
Good. How old are they?
They are 16, 18, 25, and 27.
Nice. Good. And one is a Cal grad.
One is a Cal grad, one is a UCLA grad, one is entering college, and one is entering high school.
Well, good for you. I appreciate it. How can people find you?
Well, I mean, I'd like everybody to listen to my podcast because that's where I put most of
People podcast, which we'll have a link to. Okay. I strongly recommend it. It's really inspired me. What else? Anything else?
Thank you. GuyKawasaki.com. And I'm very active in social media on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Yeah. And so we'll put all that in the show notes. And you get to see him at the Customer Service Revolution. Guy, thank you. Thanks for inspiring me and empowering me to, you made me really want to become a speaker at another level watching you and following you over the years. So thank you so much.
And your speech was the best 15 seconds I have ever seen. All right.
Thanks.
See you later. Have a great weekend.
Did you like what you heard in today's episode? We hope so. Give us a thumbs up and let us know about it in your review. Want to hear more? Be sure to subscribe to the Customer Service Revolution podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening and for being part of the revolution.